To another episode of Debt Nation, where we are busy putting death out of business, and we have a Nigeria update on the COVID-19 with Mr.Orji coming in from a very early morning, almost 4 a.m. over there in Nigeria. So we thank you very much for staying up very late and doing this show with us, sir. But before we go over there, we want to thank Thrivous. Thanks very much to Thrivous, Geoprotectors and Nootropics. Go and check out the previous show with Jason Mallory, where he talks about his exceptional experience with Thrivous. So we want to thank Thrivous. We also want to thank I Am Transhuman, the I Am Transhuman campaign. That's David Kelly, who's doing so many marvelous things over there at I Am Transhuman. So now we cross over to Nigeria, Mr. Orji. It's good to have you on the show. We had you on the show a little while ago. Things are getting a little bit more interesting there in Nigeria. Do you want to do a Nigeria? Firstly, how are you, sir? It's good to have you, and then tell us what's happening. What's the news with COVID-19 in Nigeria and the broader experience of Africa? Good to see you, sir. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm doing well. Good to see you too, and I hope everything is okay over there.
We are doing fine. We're doing fine.
We are having a very challenging situation over here. Perhaps it was underestimated by our leaders, and currently the virus is really ravaging. Though we have so far 44 suspected cases of coronavirus. Two people have been discharged, and so far one death have been recorded. We have recorded one death so far, and this is how it is now currently in Nigeria. The chief of staff to the president, Abba Kyari, yesterday tested positive, and Bauchi state governor in northeastern Nigeria, Bauchi State, Mr. Bala Mohammed, also tested positive, and it's suspected that a lot of people in the Aso Rock, that's the presidential villa, tested positive too. Currently, it is a tough time, and we expect more horrible news among the elites in few days to come. And that's the problem here in Nigeria. And the situation, our health system might be overburdened because we don't have enough facility here with what we have seen, that what is happening in Europe and in China, in America. If we should have it here in Nigeria, or in Africa here, is going to be really devastating. There is a tough time for African countries currently. Very tough time.
So we've seen COVID-19 expanding across the world, obviously beginning in China and then going out to different countries, and they've been reacting in different ways. Obviously, Africa has dealt with similar things before, the Ebola crisis being something fresh in the minds of people. Is there not anything that's left over from the Ebola crisis that could assist your country, either psychologically or in terms of preparedness for this coronavirus crisis?
Yes, well, trust Nigerians will always pull through, but the Ebola crisis, the Ebola is milder than coronavirus. Coronavirus is more contagious than Ebola, so it poses more threats. It poses more threat than Ebola, but we can always look back and be proud of ourselves, and bring back that effort we exerted to actually combat the Ebola. We can actually put it into work currently and see how far we can go. I think Nigeria, we can do our best. We can actually be able to combat it, but really it's going to be a challenging time for us, especially for all African countries, going to, because currently here in Nigeria, everywhere is locked down. Banks are locked here in Lagos, especially here in Lagos, which is the commercial city, the commercial hub in Nigeria or in West Africa, is partially locked down. And we expect stricter measures from the government in few days to come. Things are going to be tougher. Yeah, certainly we are going to pull through, but I don't think it's going to be easy.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It is spreading across the world at a rapid pace. Uh, what do you think? What do you think the greatest challenge for Nigeria or Africa as a general is? Is it the health system? Is it the cascading effects of unemployment? Is it the security crisis? I mean, I just saw, the United Nations, for example, was calling for a global ceasefire to help combat COVID-19. Do you see the security situation with Boko Haram or some of these related groups dying down a little bit on the back of this? For example, that might be a glimmer of hope. Uh, do you think they'll stop fighting just for a little while? Is that something good that might come out of this?
Okay, uh, I think I will take the most important question first. The most important question: what threats? What are the most, like, our biggest challenge in the fight of this coronavirus, this virus? I think our problem, the biggest challenge Africa has, is our health system and our economy. Like Nigeria cannot be able to survive. A lot of cannot be able to survive the lockdown. A lot of Nigerians can't be able to survive 10 days without going to work. And Nigerian government can't be able to afford to pay stipend to unemployed or ordinary citizens for not going to work, especially those people that depend on day-to-day um, businesses. Currently here in Lagos, the markets have been locked down. Some of the banks have been partially locked down, and things, they coming from economic angle, I don't think it's going to be very, very, very tough in Africa. Yes, in Europe, it's a little bit easier because they have a booming economy, they have the strength. Here in Africa, we don't have that such strength. Economically, we don't have such strength. Secondly, when I mentioned our health system current here in Nigeria, we have, as of yesterday, we have only 5 centers where people can actually be tested, and most states don't even have isolation center. We tackled Ebola uh, thanks to Lagos State government, because Lagos State was the epicenter of the Ebola crisis. And most states in Nigeria don't have the resources or the stamina that Lagos State possess. Um, Going forward, you made mention of the United States calling for ceasefire, like what they told the North Korea to stop their um, armament display. I don't think that is actually applicable to Boko Haram. These guys are terrorists. Yes, yesterday they ambushed some soldiers. Some soldiers were killed by Boko Haram. Apart from the fact that they wouldn't like to really come to the inside the cities, inside the community, so that they will not contact the deadly virus, but they will still be operating from the fringes. I think at the fringes, the borders, they will still be operating. I don't think when it comes to this crisis, this period, I don't really think it is a good thing that, okay, we actually have a ceasefire from the Boko Haram. These guys uh, is not a conventional warfare, and these guys are terrorists. I don't think they are going to cease. Whereas I think it's actually a bad one for us because psychologically our soldiers won't be prepared to fight. I think.
Yeah, yeah. This global ceasefire obviously being called for uh, many countries by the United Nations. That's including Libya and out of Africa, I guess, but Syria as well. They want to calm things down there, and possibly Ukraine as well. So that we can focus on this common enemy. If Nigeria going forward, what do you think this will mean for African cooperation between the countries? Do you think it's every African country now for themselves with this virus, or do you think that there will be coordinated cooperation in handling this crisis? Or do you think the African continent or African countries will call on external intervention, whether that be IMF or World Bank or some international institution or the United States? What do you think? What do you think? Do you think these countries are going to work together?
I think at this stage, problem now, um, to be realistic, and factual about everything. Currently, I think is every man to himself. Currently, because the big giants in Africa, the big countries in Africa, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, they are still battling to combat this virus. And when you talk about the big nations, talking about the United States, the UK, they are not also having it easy. Everybody is fighting tooth and nail to combat it. Yes, we can expect some help from the United Nations. We can expect some help from is going to come from internal solution. Is going to be internal solution. Is about what every country can be able to do, because each country is at war with this
Yes.
virus.
You, Mr. Orji, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
All right. We just can't hear. We can hear you. We can hear you now. Your internet seemed to
Okay.
have died a little bit. But yes,
Okay.
I agree with you. The characterization that this is a war. Absolutely, it's a war, and we'll have to see who, what entity, whether that's a research and development company or a national laboratory or an entrepreneur, what we can do to solve this crisis. But let's talk about how deep do you think the crisis is going to be? I mean, obviously, you said that the health system might be put under stress. In Australia, for example, we're going for the flattening of the curve strategy to try and ease pressure. Do you think that is something that Africa could do? I mean, we're looking at India. India is completely locking down its citizens for almost a month. What do you think? Is there strategies to avert
Yes, the
harm?
strategy currently, yes, some African countries have deployed such strategy. I mentioned that here in Lagos, there have been partial lockdown. Courts have been locked down since this week. We are no longer going to court. All court activity. Um, we even the national courts, internationally, all the courts are not sitting. The banks, the federal workers have been ordered to stay at home until further notice. Our universities have been locked down, and we expect most strict measures as far as the virus persists. we expect more strict measures. Um, and some other African countries have adopted the same measure. Cameroon have adopted the same measure. Rwanda have adopted the same measure. South Africa have adopted the same measure. So I think that's the kind of measure that we are expecting, and we are expecting uh, more strict measures to be adopted if this virus persists.
Yeah, yeah, it's all about timing. You know, the virus seems to attack people with a lower immune system. Maybe in the older generation,
Mm.
the data is a little bit fuzzy. Africa, Lagos, Africa in general has a very young population. Why is this a concern for Africans in general? Is you've got a young population? Is it actually something to worry about, or is it something I'm not understanding?
Okay, it's something to be happy about that we have a young population, because most of the people that this virus have taken are the people, the older generation, the older people. Like, however, I'm also concerned by our health system over here.
Mm.
It is very porous, and we don't have the capacity that Europe has, or America, Australia. Yes, a little complication here in Africa can lead to someone's death.
Mm.
Malaria kills, a lot of other diseases kills. I must give kudos to the government, especially to the Lagos state government. Um, we have recorded some successes on this virus. Like, two people have already been discharged, including an Italian man. So it's also something to be happy about, that we will actually pull through. Currently, most of the people, okay, the death, the only death we have recorded is a 67 years old man, relatively very old, and some of the new faces, popular faces, um, have been tested positive are actually old people. Uh, it's actually a very trying time. We don't know what their fate is going to be. And these are the people that rely solely on foreign hospitals for their treatment. But they can't travel now. They can't travel now because they can't go to UK for medication. They can't go to Dubai for medication. They can't go to Germany for medication. They are relying on the local hospitals for their medication. And these local hospitals don't really have the facilities that those countries in Europe, because they failed to do it. They failed to equip our hospitals over here. So it's really going to be a tragic comedy. We are going to see a tragic comedy, experience tragic comedy um, in few days to come.
Yeah, I'm very concerned. I mean, it's yes, this is not going to be fun at all. What do you think? Well, you mentioned about travel restrictions, so you are getting tighter and tighter travel restrictions. You're getting lockdowns, partial lockdowns. How about your interstate borders? Are the governors of your states, or whatever the hierarchy there, are they restricting? Are they mandating self isolation yet in Nigeria as you cross over state borders, if you have them?
Yes, some of the like the Kaduna, some of the state government governors have taken some measures to protect their citizens. I know a particular governor, the governor of Kaduna State. He ordered anybody coming to the state to be tested. The governor of Niger State have imposed a curfew. Same with River State have locked down, shut down. Same with Cross River State. Some other states are applying measures, are really applying measures. On Sunday, churches we are closed down here in Lagos. Same thing with our neighboring state, Ogun State. And we expect stricter measures. We expect stricter measures. But above all, I expect African leaders, I expect Nigerian governors, same with all other African leaders, to be more proactive. I think we need more hospitals, we need more isolation centers, we need more ventilators, we need more equipment. We need to really prepare for the worst, because I we need to prepare for the worst. We can't rely on any other country, we can't rely on any other foreign country. I believe that I'm a Nigerian. I'm not being proud about that. Like, we can actually, is a statement of fact, we were able to pull through Ebola crisis without any foreign help. I think if we can be able to galvanize such synergy and be more proactive, we can be able to uh, pull through this current crisis.
Yeah, and I really wish Nigeria the best. And they've had experience with dealing with these things, and Ebola. Absolutely, this is a great hope for us. We'll be watching Nigeria closely and seeing how that they manage and cope with this. Africa is a very, very big continent. There's a lot of countries, a lot of people there, and we really hope that. We wish you all the best over there, because Africa is an exciting place. An exciting place. So yeah, we're scared and we're worried, but Nigeria is resilient, as proven by Ebola, and this could be something that this could be a place that the world looks up to in the face of this crisis, because if we can't do it over here with all of our technological magic, then what hope is there? I mean, Nigeria is that hope. That's they've been there, done that. They can pull through. So I'm very excited to see Nigeria rise to the challenge, and implementing things like 3D printing ventilators. This is something simple, but if they can get the code, if they can build these machines, maybe that will be better for the continent, So I agree. The state governors and the national leaders need to step up, and they can do this. Nigeria can do this. South Africa, it should be able to do this as well. This is another big player in the region that not only should be able to take care of itself, but it should be able to take care of the many countries around it. South Africa should be a leader. And it's time for South Africa to lead in this scenario. So yes, I totally agree. What will it mean? What have you done personally, and what do you think people should do themselves in the face of this? Have you got food stored up? Are you ready to go? How long are you getting ready to bunker down for? What's the preparation that people should take, that you've taken and that you would advise people to take?
Currently, I have some foodstuffs, and I'll keep on getting, but I'm not going to hold anything. I expect others. I've always admonished others to be prepared for the worst. Let's be prepared for the worst. Get your foodstuff, get things in your fridge, get things in your kitchen. Don't go out unless it's very necessary to go out. Be your brother's keeper. This is not a time to high prices as a businessman unnecessarily, because you know that people are in dire need of it. And this is not the time this is not the time not to give help to someone that you know that is actually sick. If someone is sick and you notice is your neighbor, you can help him call the doctor. Help him call the doctor. As slightest suspicion that somebody is sick over here currently, people are, maybe he's having coronavirus, I don't want to get close to him. This is not the attitude we should imbibe in this hour. Because it's very inimical to pull through this situation. So we should come together, stay in your closet, pray, avoid big gathering, um, pray in your closet, don't go to church, don't go to mosque, don't allow any religious leader to tell you to come for one program or the other. Pray in your closet. God even approves it. Is wise. Is not being foolish. Rather, going to church or going to a large gathering is being dogmatic and foolish, because this virus knows no status.
Yeah.
Um, yes, and it's also good to take precautionary measure. Even our holy books, the Bible and the Quran, admonish us to do that.
Yep.
Because Nigeria, Africa, we are very, very religious. We are very, very, very religious. So it's good for them to know this, that there is a responsibility. And I call all the religious leaders, because they have to call their members, to tell their members to stay at home. They have the responsibility. It will be highly irresponsible of any religious leader to tell his member or his follower to come to a religious gathering. We saw how it played out in Dubai and in Iran. We saw how it played out in South Korea. We don't want that here in Nigeria.
No, you want Taiwan, or South Korea wasn't too bad actually, but Taiwan you would want. It was the best, the most optimal defense. Singapore has tried. The problem with Singapore is it's so transitory. It's such a hub of people that every time they get rid of it, people just bring it back. Yeah. Do you think this will reshape geopolitics in the region? This coronavirus. Do you think there will be new countries formed post coronavirus? Do you think countries will disappear, or do you think that it won't cause any geopolitical shift?
I don't think countries will disappear, but I think it will have a devastating effect on some countries. I think it will also bring some changes in some countries. What do I mean? It will bring some political changes. I think it will also bring some form of cognitive, a form of meditation, a form of reassessment
Mm.
in the way we do our things, our choices, our behavioral patterns, what we do. Yes, because some of African leaders, um, we have an attitude, I don't care attitude to what happens internal in our country. We don't want to equip our hospitals. We expect when we know that, okay, when we are sick we have the money to fly abroad to take care of ourselves. It's going to be it's going to bring a new mindset among our political elite. They will come to a time, like in the time of crisis, when you can't be able to go to UK, where you can't be able to go to Dubai. What happened? I think it's going to be a salutary experience.
Yeah.
Like what happened in England during the 15th or 16th century, after the outbreak of the Black Death.
Yes.
It brought some social innovation, some social changes, and I expect same to happen here in Africa, especially in Nigeria.
I totally agree. I'm calling this the time of great reflection. Hopefully, that's all it is. It's the time of great reflection. But I think everybody's thinking about the exact points that you brought up. I think you've brought them up so eloquently in that statement. I think you've brought them up so eloquently in that statement. So I thank you for that. We've lost the connection, unfortunately. But thank you, Mr.Orji, for coming on and telling us what's going on in Nigeria. We really appreciate your feedback. We appreciate your analysis. We appreciate your coverage of that scenario, and we wish you the best, Mr. Orji, because this is a global event, and this could be really devastating. And you look after yourself. you look after yourself because we need you. And, you know, if you're out there in Nigeria and you're locked down, or if you're anywhere in the world, buy some TAF's products. Buy a magazine. Have a read. This is great stuff. All right, well, I think we lost Mr. Orji. Let's just call him back for a second and see if he's still there. You know, Nigeria, huge population, people. Big young population too. They defeated Ebola, as I said. That's pretty incredible. You know, working with the United States defeated Ebola. But I do agree with Mr. Orji here. I think he's saying this is a great time of great reflection. This is a time of regionalism, national strength, self-reliance. I think these things are being really thought over, especially in the context of supply chains. So we thank you very much, Mr. Orji. Thank you for coming on. Thank you to all the viewers who are watching Detonation. Thanks for the update about Nigeria. And we wish you all the best and all the health and wealth. That's Detonation, where we're busy putting death out of business. Things are getting stressful out there. So everybody stay safe. Everybody stay safe, well, and happy. And we will continue to try and do as many shows as we can, keeping the community glued together in these great times of struggle. It's not easy, people. It's not easy. Thank you very much. Detonation.